So how did you think the lesson today went?
I think it went really well. I was so surprised and so happy to see how articulate they were about their feelings. I had no
Yes.
idea if that was going to go over very well, but I think having them talk to each other in their groups definitely helped, and they were comfortable sharing, and they liked to hear that they weren't alone, which was part of the whole point, so I was thrilled with that.
I think it made them feel safe to hear how many people felt the same way. I think one of the things you're going to want to do is, as you travel through the curriculum and now you encounter a scary problem or you see them stop, remind them of this time. You know, it's okay to have these feelings. It's actually good to recognize them, because then you know, I got to talk myself through this.
Yep.
And you started to practice some ways of doing that. Today, actually, you modeled them. And it will take much more practice for them to get good at it. But you set the stage so it can be talked about. And I think that was very, very important. And I agree. They were very articulate with their feelings, and they had important things to say.
Yeah, they did. It was great. That went really well.
Yeah. So when we met before for our pre-conference, we talked about, you said there were two things that you wanted me to look for.
Yes.
One was Miguel and the other was modeling with mathematics.
Yes.
And let me talk about modeling first, because I just wanted to give you some very specific feedback that you did it extremely well.
Oh, thank you.
You did it in a nice gradual release form where you started out purely modeling on the board. We agree, it's complicated, it's hard to remember all the parts, but you did a good job modeling with the kit and then linking it to the equation. As you continue to work at it, when you get the equation down, it's really good to literally number by number say, here's my 3/16, here's my 2/16, and together they add up to 5/16, and that's this portion. Piece by piece, make your modeling go back and forth. But you generally did an extremely nice job with the modeling and the equation. You had good eye contact, you didn't lose your class. I thought it was appropriately paced.
Good.
And it was very clear. It was very clear. It was really nicely done. A great beginning. It will only get easier with practice.
Okay, I look forward to that.
The second thing we talked about was Miguel. And I was wondering, as you observed Miguel, what did you notice today? I also have some data, but you go ahead.
Yes, no, I didn't witness any talking. I saw him using the tools we provided. I saw him, manipulating the kit. I saw Leslie talking to him a great deal, and he listens.
Yes,
he looks at her, he smiles, he nods. He has that he gives a lot of nonverbal cues. But I did not witness him producing even in Spanish, which is what I wanted was, I didn't want to push him further than Spanish, but even in Spanish, I didn't. Did you see anything that I missed?
I didn't see him talk.
Okay.
But
Okay,
I saw
thought so.
I observed exactly what you observed. He participated, he listened, there was eye contact, he was engaged, but he did not respond.
Right.
And one of the things that made me think about is the teaching of the social skills, not just explanation, which you've done so well, but also teaching children to ask questions, as well as simply to ask a very simple question of their partner so that their partner needs to respond.
Okay, so requiring that back and forth.
And I'm thinking of something perhaps like some sentence frames that might help them get going on this. Leslie did such a beautiful job explaining. She was marvelous. She is so fluently bilingual. It is such a gift.
Right, yeah.
Her next step, though, is to actually learn to ask the person she's explaining to and do what a teacher does. Check for understanding, pull from them, how do they understand it, to ask them a question that gets them to participate. And that would be, she's already very advanced in her social skills, but this would be the next step forward, which is trying to pull from the person you're talking to something that is more engaging in the conversation.
Absolutely. And I think that besides Leslie, because she is doing very well with her social skills, that's a skill that I could definitely bring to my whole class. A lot of them are very good at either doing the listening or doing the talking, but having the conversation, back and forth.
Yes.
Definitely something that we could work on.
And that's going to be critical to mathematical discussions, where students explain their reasoning, then they listen to one another, they critique one another's reasoning, which is another math practice. I think you're well on your way, and we can help structure more of that into their conversations. I wondered, taking the whole idea of language development, as it worked well having the whiteboard and the kit. But what I noticed is the person with the whiteboard did their whiteboard work and the person with the kit did their kit work. And there wasn't as much interaction between the two as I wanted, because I really wanted them to link the numbers to the representations with the kit, just the way you did when you modeled it.
Right.
So I was wondering if you wanted in our next lesson that one of the things we would work with is structured language opportunities where, for instance, the person who's modeling with a kit, their job is to explain to their partner how the story links to what they did.
Oh, yeah.
And the person with the equation, their job is to link the numbers to where it's shown on the kit.
Oh, that would be great, yeah.
We'd have to play with some simple language frames.
Yes.
But if we could get them to do that, that would be deep conceptual understanding and modeling with mathematics.
Absolutely. And if I could pull Miguel from that shy exterior and get him to respond in Spanish using some of those, I would be thrilled to see that.
And it could be he won't respond in Spanish. It could be he will wait a little while until he's ready to respond in English, and then. So I would suggest we give him support in both Spanish. In other words, the sentence frame would be in both Spanish and English, and we'll wait and see which he uses, because we've heard a little bit of English coming out, but we also want to make sure he's very comfortable. The most important thing is that he's participating and he's starting to talk with other students about how he's thinking mathematically.
Yeah.
So in class, we've been talking a lot about the new Common Core standards and the mathematical practices. And I wanted to ask you, because I saw huge strengths in this lesson in terms of those practices, which did you see as most critical in this lesson? Which ones did you feel like, I did that practice, we did that practice in the class?
The one that really resonates as sort of an overarching theme for me is just persevering, when you're facing that problem that scares you and where you don't know what to do and it's multiple steps. So that was really how I had the whole lesson really modeled around that concept and working with them on that.
Exactly. And I think that makes a lot of sense because it's based in what you observed your students needed. They needed some strategies for persevering. I also want to say that practice starts with make sense of problems and persevere in solving them, and you gave them two really good strategies to make sense of problems. You helped them model with mathematics using the kit to represent the problem, and then you helped them model again by writing the equation. And that's the fourth mathematical practice, which is modeling with mathematics. And one of the reasons these practices are so critical is because they're what help children do math well. And your lesson focused on not just math content, but strategies to help children do math well, to make sense of the problem and persevere in solving it. Excellent. I also really like the direction we're going here because it gets at another mathematical practice, which is communication. And I think when we build with those sentence frames and see if we can get a little more structured interaction between those pairs, we will be working towards communicating your thinking in mathematics, and as well as really the social skills of I'm listening to what you said, I'm responding to what you said, I'm thinking about what you said, and now I'm adding my input.
Right.
Go ahead.
And up in the room we do use accountable talk. So if you saw that
I saw those signs.
We do. We have these little posters, we have accountable talk, and we do encourage them when they're orally producing language to use those. We have the I agree with so and so because, or I disagree with because, or additional showing evidence. We have some accountability talk that really covers all different areas. I think bringing that in, something they're familiar with, bringing that in to the pair sharing is great. It fits right into Common Core. It's something they're familiar with that I'm comfortable with.
Exactly.
And it's not really throwing anything new at them. It's not like, hey, by the way, you've been doing such a good job. Let me add to the burden. Let me switch it up. They know to use those. And it really fits with Common Core. It's going to meet those needs. It's going to meet their needs. I think that's a great place to start.
Excellent. Excellent. I think it's a good beginning point also. And so many of the Common Core practices are really what you want happening in a classroom anyway. And this kind of communication, it's not just social skills, it's not just teaching children to communicate, it's also teaching children to explain their reasoning. And that's essential in Common Core.
Yeah.
Great. We've got a plan.
All right,
I'll see you next time.
Yep.